Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a lot of changes that are coming with this mid-season update, and it's just not a brand new weapon. They've made several changes to balance a lot of weapons, like almost 40 weapons were touched in this balancing pass, as well as several other things like game modes and stuff. We're going to breeze through what's important. There are a lot of other things that kind of slip through the cracks and things to look forward to. If you enjoyed the video, learned something new, please do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. So as I go through here, they're going to obviously have the event. We've already talked about this. Blueprint Blitz, a limited time mode. This will allow you to get previous blueprints that were awarded at some point. So go ahead and do that if you're missing those blueprints. Brand new limited time mode. Pits two teams of 20 against each other. So it's 40 players, probably a smaller map. And then you'll kind of go through the checkpoints and kind of work through that. Not a huge important part. If you want to read through, these things are there. It's just I don't want this video to be like 30 minutes long because it definitely could be. Maps, red doors, further intel suggests that red doors will appear blank and take you to blank. So I guess maybe they're going to have different locations that we don't know. There is a new prestige calling card as well as emblems as part of this. And then there's also kill chain perk now increases the chance to obtain Warzone kill streaks from loot. So it's all loot, not just from chests like it was previously. I don't think anyone's going to be running kill chain all of a sudden. Maybe on Rebirth, you're opening chests to try and get UAVs and something else. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense for me for people to use that. That spawns across Verdansk has been adjusted as follows. New Gulag loadouts. Sentry gun kill streak can be found in the red door control rooms. So their specific location, they're not going to be that common. They're going to be specific to those red door areas. And the specialist token is now slightly more common. But keep in mind that it only gives you the perks. It doesn't give you the weapon perks like it used to. And then on top of that, once you die, it despawns. So you're not going to be able to come back and hunt that person down for a specialist bonus. So if you do get it, you're going to be a little bit lucky there. And it's just increased across the board. So we'll see it probably at the same frequency you see in Rebirth. So if you loot enough, you'll probably see that every so many matches. Like normally I get it about 1 every 5 matches in Rebirth, maybe 1 in 7. But at least somebody on the team is getting it pretty regularly. Combat bow, they made it so now it one-shot hits if you get a direct impact. Players will now drop their loot behind them when you grab a loadout instead of in front of you. So it ends up piling up, which is kind of cool if your teammates come at different angles. Not all the weapons are on top of each other, so it's a huge quality of life. They also fixed a vertical camera movement bug where when you would slide down a downward slope, it would fix your camera where you had no control over it. So pretty big issue. Quality of life that has been here since basically the alpha of Modern Warfare has finally been fixed. Dirt bike update. They made it so it has a little bit more maneuverability because even though it had the fastest speed, it was kind of lackluster in terms of mobility. Now you can do backward wheelie, forward wheelie, whatever the heck that move's called. And then you can have a little bit more maneuverability when that front wheel is off the ground. So you can have a little bit more control over it. Also, they talked about adding new perks into the game that would be Warzone specific. So it's not going to cover for Modern Warfare. And then they're going to have 2 new Warzone specific perks share in the future. It sounds like it doesn't look like they're changing right now. It's just kind of more of a, hey, just a heads up, we're adding 2 new perks. We'll see how those get implemented in the game. Instead of nerfing dead silence, they've made a counter for that, which it looks like we'll see that in a future update, where you're going to actually be able to hear dead silence footsteps the way you hear normal ones. And then until then, until this update happens, we're going to see the weapon make its long-awaited debut, which is probably the CX-9 or the RAL LMG, which was highlighted back in December. So it's been 6 months. They've just been sitting on it. With the Psychov, they eventually brought out back in like March or April. Now we're finally going to see one of those other guns, which based off some of the trailers, it's probably going to be the CX-9. Bug fixes. There are a lot of them. Feel free to read them. Usually if these are fixed, that means they're no longer a problem. So we're not really going to read through all those as they could take a very long time. Another huge change here is this new social menu tab. They added 2 new tabs for the social menu display recent squad mates and recent game lobby members so that you can find game more easily and find those people easier friends and play with your recent team members. So if you queue up with randoms and you're like, finally, I found somebody that has a mic, you'll be able to find them in the lobby a little bit easier if you want to friend them or whatever. The other one is anyone you interacted with the match will automatically be sorted towards the top. So that's if you die to them, if you kill them, they'll be highlighted more towards the top. And this will be easier to spot, block, and report hackers, cheaters, or just people that are toxic, you don't like their behavior or whatever. That'll be at the top of the list because you interacted with them. So that makes that a little bit of a quality of life change. They added some other accessibility options. I won't read through all of those. You're more than welcome to. Then when it comes to weapons, they're adding this new OTS 9. There's going to be a challenge for it, or you could buy it in the store. When I do a breakdown of the weapon, I'll explain how you can unlock it, and if it's easier in zombies, multiplayer, or Warzone, doing it in Plunder, and see what is the best option. Keeping in mind that, you know, it really comes down to if you have the full game or not. Your options are kind of limited if you only have Warzone. Melee will be added later on, again through challenges or in the store. And then here are the plethora of changes, a lot of changes. So the AK-40, I'm going to go and breeze through all of these. I already kind of made a list on Twitter, so we can kind of breeze through what's actually happening here, but we'll kind of breeze through. AK-47 got nerfed. This is the Cold War version. They made it so that it doesn't have an upper chest multiplier, so it's going to match the lower torso and limbs. So this is kind of a big nerf for the AK-47, and we'll see how the damage values pan out for a lot of these changes, because you got to do the math, you got to actually test it, you got to see what was changed. So of these 38 different changes, we're going to breeze through because we won't know how big the differences are just based off of those numbers alone until we get to kind of like the finer details of shots to kill, how many headshots, how many chest shots. And the overall goal for them was they wanted to make it so that, you know, there's a little bit more skill involved. You got to aim for the head. It's not like you're just getting more damage for aiming for the chest type thing. AK-47, which most people didn't touch for Modern Warfare, got an upper torso damage multiplier decreased. The C58 got a headshot multiplier decrease. Upper torso and lower torso now do the same damage as the limbs. And that's what this means, is matching that one time. Maximum damage range actually increased by 8%, which is kind of negligible. Keep it in mind, if it's just 30 meters, this is like up to now 32 meters, right? It's not a huge deal. And the recoil was slightly increased. And we'll have to double check to see if this also fixed the 4X on the C58, which was also kind of bugged, which was giving you like very little recoil. AMAX headshot multiplier increased by about 1.55 instead of 1.5. So that's negligible. And then they reduced the torso damage. So you're going to get the same as probably the stomach damage or the limbs. So you're not getting that damage multiplier. So it got a buff and a nerf. So this one's kind of even. Again, it goes back to the numbers. Assault Rifle Bravo. This one is the FAL. So the headshot multiplier that was completely broken is now gone. So the FAL is not going to be nearly as usable as it was, even though a very small percentage of people were using that. It was a little bit more of a niche audience on that weapon. And then the upper torso got reduced as well. FARA. Damage decreased from 31 to 29. And this is the up close damage when they say maximum. And when they say minimum, it's usually the long range. So they're nerfing it as a quote unquote sniper support for up close, or as an SMG build to make it more fit its overall goal that they had in mind, which is a long range weapon. They also increased the recoil again. So that's going to stack on the previous nerf. As we go down, maximum damage increased or decreased for the FARA. Oh, wait, no. Then we come to the FFAR. They nerfed the FFAR multiple times. Maximum up close damage went from 27 down to 25. So instead of being like 9 shots to kill, it's guaranteed to be 10 up close. And then it drops from 25 up to 23. So now you're going to end up with more shots to kill at range. So this one kind of got nerfed into the ground, even though they're increasing the maximum range by 20%. Range was about 30 meters. So now you're talking about 36 meters. Not a huge deal. And then the neck damage got buffed. Overall, a nerf around the board. It is what it is. Assault Rifle Golf. This is the SCAR. They ended up buffing it a couple weeks ago, and then they nerfed it again, which kind of sucks because I think it was very usable. They actually need to give it a bigger mag to let the gun breathe and see if people use it, because it's still going to be one of those high skill weapons depending on where you're at. More often than not, most people aren't going to use it. The Growl, it kind of not going to be meta with this change. It got a huge buff. From 22 to 24, which reduces the shots to kill and lowers the TTK to around 800 milliseconds, which is still kind of slower than a lot of these other guns, but its recoil is non-existent, so it could kind of step in there and not feel like it's shooting peas at long distance. The Groza got a nerf and a buff. They nerfed the damage, they nerfed the damage, nerfed the damage, nerfed the damage, but they fixed the recoil pattern a little bit. They smoothed it out. It had 2 big bends in it. And then we got the maximum damage increase. So I don't think anyone's going to be using the Groza, but I think maybe sniper support, it's going to be good because the smooth out recoil pattern will allow you to get a little bit further ranges. It ADS is pretty good, has a fast reload. So I think they want to push it more towards sniper support because its close range TTK isn't insane, but it can compete if you manage to land the shots. We'll see how these damage numbers end up equating out. Craig got a minor buff from 25 up to 26. I don't think that's going to have a huge impact on it, but you never know. Maybe they're trying to make that one even with the Pharah. Then we have the M13. It also had a lower shot to kill now, which makes it a little bit more competitive, but it's essentially even with the Growl now. So if you find yourself liking the Growl, definitely worth checking out the M13, as their TTKs are very similar. Assault Rifle Charlie, it should be the Modern Warfare M4A1. It looks like they decrease the damage up close, so it's going to be less sniper support, and they're going to increase it for long range, so it kind of got a buff and a nerf, I believe, how that one works for the M4A1. Odin got a nerf. QBZ got a buff. Movement speed reduced. ADS speed reduced because it was kind of cracked out. And then it got buffs for its upper torso and lower torso multipliers. Still not going to be meta. If you liked it before, you're going to like it a little bit better now, but it is 100% still not going to be meta. These damage values don't put it enough. It is slightly worse than probably the M13 and the Growl are. I'd still probably prefer them over it, but it's still probably usable. Ram 7 got a nerf, so people weren't really touching that one other than sniper support recently. Other than, when we kind of had that little limbo where we didn't know what to use. That one is a decent nerf. XM4 also got nerfs for up close and far range. They also nerfed the ADS speed and they increased the recoil slightly. So they went back and after smoothing out the recoil pattern, they actually made it harder. So I think this one's going to be still a good sniper support, but it's not going to be the jack of all trades like we've seen it be. Light machine gun, M60 got a slight buff. I still don't think people use it because it fires slow and it's a very slow weapon, but it's going to be decent in terms of damage. MG34, no one was using, even though this thing is disgusting. They nerfed it to kind of balance it out. The MG82 ADS speed decreased slightly, which means it's slower. So they kind of nerfed it again, even though no one's really using it unless you're getting off a floor loot. Light machine gun alpha. This is actually the PKM. They buffed the up close damage from 31 to 32. So if you're using this more of like a sniper support, you're going to be good. They decreased the range by 7%, and then the upper torso multiplier decreased. So it got a buff and 2 nerfs. So it's kind of in the middle there. SA87 upper torso multiplier nerf. So it got worse. Light machine gun alpha. For Black Ops Cold War, this is the Stoner. They nerfed the Stoner in 2 different ways. I think the Stoner is still going to slap. But I think they're doing a huge overhaul here that is going to change a lot of what people see as the meta. But at the end of the day, as they mentioned in this, all the weapons will kind of be where there's always going to be a meta because people are just naturally inclined to min-max to get every inch out of every build. The Swiss, they fixed the ADS animation, or it got updated. And then now it has the same reticle as the ZRG 20mm, which kind of has a little cross thread instead of that little triangle. So we'll see if that's better or worse. The AK-74U, long range, it got a buff. Close range, it got a nerf, kind of a decent one from 35 to 31. The headshot multiplier looks like it changed slightly. Upper torso multiplier from 1 to 1.1, so it got a little bit of buff. And the bullet velocity increased. But they still haven't fixed the ADS speed, which is one of the bigger problems with the gun. So people still probably won't use it because of kind of how this change happened. It's kind of unfortunate. Then Submachine Gun Alpha, I believe this is the AUG. It got a slight buff. I don't know if this is the buff that they were talking about before that never got implemented, but there you go. You have that, a damage increase, and then the headshot multiplier decrease. So I guess that this didn't get out of control. And this is for long range, the minimum damage increase, so it's further ranges. Bullfrog, maximum damage decreased, increased multipliers, so it gets consistent damage everywhere, but it does less damage. So it kind of got rid of what made the Bullfrog so nasty, is that if you landed headshots, you were rewarded. Now it's kind of like you'll probably have a slightly better TTK and you won't need as many headshots. Kind of straightforward there. KSP got a nerf. LC10 got nerfed a couple different ways, like 3 different ways, so definitely not going to be broken. MAC-10 got a huge nerf, because the number of shots to kill is going to change dramatically. Even though it's only 1 shot, that's a lot of times enough to add an extra bullet, which this one, damage per mag, was already kind of a little bit lacking. This is going to be pretty bad in this scenario. Milano, recoil increase because it almost had none. Maximum damage range decrease, so they nerfed the damage by about 10%, 2 meters-ish, because it was about 20 meters. Headshot multiplier decreased heavy. Upper torso and lower torso decreased. So now it gets the same as the limb to the lower torso, which will raise the shots to kill. Not going to be very effective at range. if they're having those issues. So we'll kind of see if it's still good. I would imagine it's still going to be pretty solid. So Submachine Gun Alpha is actually for Cold War is the MP5. So they decreased it. They got nerfed in both different ways. So up close, it's going to probably take an extra shot, which kind of got rid of what's special. And then at long range, where most people don't even use it anyways, it also got a nerf. So I think that one's going to be rough because 25 goes into 250 10 times. That means you're going to have at least one more shot to kill, which makes it 11 outside of that 10 meters. So pretty hard. Nail gun, maximum damage decreased. So they basically nerfed this thing hard. Submachine Gun Echo is the Bison. It also got a nerf to its up close range, and then it got a buff to its long range, which it just doesn't make any sense to me. PPSH got a nerf up close range from 28 to 26. So it was good. Not a lot of people were using it. And then we also got a slight buff to the ISO. Submachine Gun Delta is the Uzi. They actually buffed the damage. I wonder if that matters with the AE rounds or not. So it's something worth to look into. The Fennec also got a nerf, which will apply basically if you're coming back on Rebirth, because that's one of the weapons you do receive. Tactical rifles, it got nerf across the board. For the AUG, the Carve, and the M16. I guess they didn't touch the other DMR type ones. Also, now in game, it'll say that the 4X has greater magnification, or above that, we'll actually say they have optical glint. We covered that in a video. Good quality of life change. We got new operators, store update, and then we have the download. So a lot of craziness in there. Very interesting stuff, and it's just a matter of time. I'm sure I missed something because these patch notes are pretty wild with what they have. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, learn something new. If you did, please do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.